to the poet. Now the question should be, what we're doing is, many times, and it requires a lot of imagination on the reader. Wordsworth doesn't tell us who this woman is, why is she alone, where's her husband, where's her family, what is she singing about, who is she what's her story? So the reader has to complete this. We don't know what Wordsworth is doing walking around. Why is he so attracted to the maiden? Was it is he in love with her? Does he know her? This sort of thing. All right, so you're going to create that in your opening statement. You're going to talk about her. Now you have to think of 2, 3, 4 questions for her, and you 2, 3, 4 questions for him. So as a group, write some questions. Okay, for example, for the question, what is the question we have for the maiden? Why are you alone? Why is your song so sad? What are you sad about?
What's the meaning of your song?
Well, yeah.
Meaning of the song.
What's your song about? What are you going to ask the poet? Why are you so attracted to this woman? Do you know her? Right? Where are you trying to go? Why are you wandering around the countryside? So you will ask those kinds of questions, okay? But you all prepare the statement and you all ask the question. Try to get 3, 4 good questions.
Why do you sing while you always people tend to sing prose songs. What is the song about? Maybe because that language is needed. Maybe it's not to the right.
All right, go ahead. And whoever's going to be the solitary, yeah, it's like a discussion, you know, like an interview. Should I start? No, wait for your partner.
Read the poet.
He is the poet, and then we need the solitary reaper, the woman. So in this case, you actually are the poet, right? And you're going to be the young woman in the poem. Now, if you wanted to involve more students, you can bring in some other characters from real life. Like you might have some imaginary minister of the environment, you know? Or you might have someone from popular culture, like a movie star, and they're going to comment on the poem. What does the poem mean to you? See what I mean? But here, let's just try with the poet and the young lass. Okay, so let's welcome our guests. They're going to start with a brief opening statement, then we're going to start with the either way, ladies first. Okay, ladies first.
Solitary reaper, singing and reaping all alone. I'm sad, lonely, forlorn. I'm cutting grass and binding the grave while singing a melancholic note. My sadness echoes in the valley profound. I remember all that has happened in the past, and many of the farthest dreams that have not been realized in my life. I am sad and lonely. I am a solitary.
Nice. Okay, thank you. And now the poet.
I'm the wanderer. I like nature, valleys, all the mountains. I escaped from the vastity with the disgust of the people all over the world. And now I'm going through the fields, and the song which knows no language asks me to look at that lonely girl cutting the fields, reaping the crop. I am the wanderer who is arrested by the sweetest song which tells the saddest thought of the lady. So, I know that no song gives no song knows any language to that. Here, I like the trees and nature as the woman in the field. May I know the pain that she feels. May I know the trouble, that ache, that mind of the solitary woman. This is the man who is wandering all over the fields. Thank you.
Okay, now we are the opening sentence. Let's hear some questions. Okay.
Why are you singing while reaping? Are you afraid of loneliness? What is the song about?
Okay, just another response. Yeah. Another.
Are you afraid of loneliness? What is the song about?
I'm not afraid of my loneliness, but I'm preoccupied with the thoughts of all that had happened in the past. I'm singing and working so that I can forget all that has happened in the past.
Thank you. Question for the man.
Towards the maiden's song.
The emotion of the woman arrested me to see the problems of her mind. Is that clear? The emotions, the feelings of the lonely, solitary girl attracted me to go into her mind, to see and search and probe into her problems.
Okay, thank you.
Why are you alone in the field? What about others in the field? Why are you alone in the field?
Yeah, why are you alone?
What about others? Family members. Yes, family.
My family is at home and I have come all the way to collect grain from my fields.
Okay, here we had an additional question for the one.
For the poem. He was imagining
For you,
that
for
she
you,
must
yeah.
be singing about her past and all. Then how did you understand her
Her
emotions?
voice itself, the vibration.
Another question? Okay, go ahead.
What about the song when you hear it? Your feelings, what are you feeling?
As I like nature much, as I wander all through the nature, observe all through the life, the women who walk in the fields. Thereby, I predict what the woman what the woman sing while doing walk in the fields.
So whether it is a happy song or a sad song?
The vibrations of voice just hinted me as a sad, melancholic song. That's right.
I have a question for the reaper. You say that your mind is filled with the past things and you are recollecting the past incidents in your life. And while you are turning them into a song and you are singing while repeating. And you said you wanted to forget all the past things. And in fact, you are bringing back or you are letting down the things that happened in your life. So why not think of happy things that happened in your life in order to forget the unhappy things?
This could be because they have all happened in the recent past. And as we all know, time is the best healer. Maybe a few years ahead, the reaper might be in a position to forget these things completely.
Does this song reminds you any of your past experiences?
Of whom?
The poet.
Yeah, as it is my habit of wandering through all these things, I remind of 15, what do you call that, visiting of the V Valley, the song of the visiting of the V Valley, and where I just recollected all the things in tranquility, and I remind of all the what do you call those, natural things in my mind.
Last question for the lady.
My dear pastoral poet,
Not pastoral poet.
my question to you.
Dear.
My dear pastoral poet,
Thank you.
were you really captivated by the maiden or the melody?
Yeah, it's a naturality of that woman.
Melody of the maiden.
As I am sensitive to the feelings of anybody else, the feelings that overflowed through the heart of that lady captivated me to stop there, to observe what she's doing there.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Very nice.
At your Wordsworth,
Yes.
you said
Yes.
she sings a melancholy strain. She is singing a melancholy strain.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
And at the same time, you say her song is so thrilling.
Yeah.
It exceeds the excellences of the cuckoo bird or the nightingale. Is it in voice?
Yeah.
Can the melancholy strain give us the thrilling impact?
Yeah.
Don't you find paradox there?
Pardon?
Paradox.
So this is the paradox we find here.
Oxymoron.
Yeah, the point we have here.
Oxymoron.
She sings of a melancholy strain.
I am very much positive towards attitude, and though I've accompanied with the Coleridge, I've got some friendship with that Coleridge and encouraging these. So anyway,
And why not, are you
Yeah.
not, then you should have been affected by John Keats also.
of course,
Some, yes, hard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter.
sweeter, of course. Yeah. Though I'm actually just captured by the sad melancholic song of that girl. So my natural attitude is to go to enjoy whatever the things that come into my mind. And moreover, I'm a moody one.
I want to answer to the sir's question. See, sometimes the melancholic song that thrills us very much. Recently, I want to use some instance in Telugu industry. Chitra has sung one beautiful song in Matru Devo Bhava, that is Venuvai Vachal Bhavananiki. When she sang that song in theatre, where she is singing, so after she sang completely, all of us stood there and they clapped for some minutes. It's just, their tears are there from eyes and they're clapping. They thought that's a wonderful thing they experienced. While they recently it was telecasted in the TV, while everybody is watching that song, while they are listening to it, they are thrilling to listen to that song, even though it is melancholic tone, because some melancholy, we shouldn't say that burdens our heart sometimes it's lighten our heart also, then it thrills our brain. That's
The tell of saddest. Usually some latest songs are those that tell of
different from the
saddest.
showing melancholy. I think we can be thrilled by anything else.
Yes.
Very nice. Let's give him a hand. Thank you. Okay. Of reading, right? Now let's do another role play, but this time we're going to integrate writing. It's called Dear, D-E-A-R. So you're going to write letters. So each group is going to write a letter. Okay? So I want you to write a letter. You are the solitary reaper. Solitary reaper, both groups, you're going to write a letter to Wordsworth. Years later, you're an adult woman, you're an old woman now, you found a poem in a book, and you're writing a letter to the poet. Okay? For this group, and so dear Williams Wordsworth. You're the poet, or you're Wordsworth, and you're writing a poem to the young reaper. Okay? So after you heard her singing, you inquired where she lived, you got her address, now you're writing her a letter. Okay, what are you going to say to her? So this group too. So look, each letter should be at least 8 sentences long. Make it a formal letter, dear, and then with a salutation and an ending. Okay. So you're the poet writing to the single reaper, and you're the old woman now. You've discovered the poem. You write to the poem. What would you say? Okay? You have it? Make a nice long letter.
For a long time? Yeah. I did not for a long time.
No, she's a Highland girl. She's a Highland girl. Yes, she's a Highland girl, not me. I am the Highland dance. That's why I'm making her. Okay. How come you use this harmonium keyboards for this, right? That's it.
Yes. Please hope you're feeling better. As you can see, if you know you're going to present it, you give a lot more thought to it. You want it to be good, right? So that's why this publication part's very important. So again, what's this strategy called? It's called DEAR, D-E-A-R. It's a letter writing that's based on the poem. All right, let's go ahead and begin. Let's give a hand to all four. All right, go ahead.
Lucknow, Lake District, January 4th, 1803. Dear Solitary Reaper, I saw you singing and working on your field on January 4th, 1802. I am delighted to inform you that you have given a wonderful subject to pen a poem. It still rings in my ears. Though I could not quite make out meaning, I am fascinated by the notes of strain of your song. I determined to make your song immortal. I am happy that you sang to vent your feelings out through your mellifluous sound. They called out the best words in the form of a poem from my heart. Please do not to forget to share what was in your mind at the time of reaping and binding. If your song were to be a melancholic one, if you share it with me, the melancholic thoughts in you will be reduced into half. If your song were to be a happier one, it doubles our pleasures. If you share it with me, please feel free to write to me. P.S. Postscript. My friend Coleridge liked this song very much. He is interested to see you. The next time you come to Lake District, to visit Lake District, be my guest. Yours sincerely, Wordsworth, Lake District. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
The sheer notion of colonialism.
Dear Wordsworth, I am the solitary reaper whom you have written about in your poem. I am glad to be a central character of your poem. This shows your concern towards the rustic people. I am surprised to know that you caught the melancholic strain without knowing my language. I thank you, Wordsworth, for taking my song by bearing the music of the song in your heart. Hope to see you in the valley once again, not with a melancholic song this time, but with a happy note. Yeah.
Good. Okay, that's good.
Dear Highland lass, when I visited the Highlands, I heard you singing and reaping all alone. Though I could not understand the language of your song, I could still feel the melancholy mood of your song. As per your voice, it was so thrilling and exceeded the sweetness of the nightingale and the cuckoo bird. I was able to grasp the theme of your song, and I could infer that you were singing about old unhappy things or battles, or a personal sorrow, loss, or pain. To my wonder, your song was echoing in the way. You sang as if it had no ending. I still bear the sad music of your song in my heart. I hope and wish you will be relieved of your pains. Time will heal your wounds. Your troubles will be redressed. Wishing you a brighter future. Thank you. With love and affection.
Yesterday, I got to read your poem and was so astonished to know my emotions captured in it. I understand that you were moved by the melancholy song that I sung long back. I was an innocent lass then, letting out my piled up emotions. I didn't notice your presence in the valley then. I was not singing about any other battles, but it was the battle of my life itself. It was my pains and my sorrows. Now when I look back, I find myself more mature, compromising with the things that life offers, and I silently and humbly accept life as it comes. Now that song remains in my heart, and many thanks for scripting my life in your poem.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow, that was really good. Okay. So look, these are some ways that we, or the hot seat or the deer, you know that they're beginning to understand the poem, right? And the poem becomes, I think, more beautiful, more lovely when we start to interact with it. It's maybe. Now, the letter, maybe you want to write one letter together as a whole class the first time to model what you mean. You see what I mean? Maybe you want to, for the tableau, just divide the class into two halves and do two tableaus. It's up to you. I think that one thing you might do too is, sometimes you can consciously, because you know the women don't necessarily participate if it's a mixed, if it's coeducational or they're intimidated. So, for example, the one group can be all women, or one of the hot seats can be women characters, one can be men, one can be co-educational, that sort of thing. So we want to think of ways to make it so that it's not, so that the women can engage in it comfortably too. Okay, if you look at your books, a few more things, and then we're going to, after lunch, we return to the writing. We have these handouts like this, right? And these are to help with vocabulary, because in a poem like this, you do have to do some decoding. A lot of the vocabulary is difficult. So these first pages are to help them remember the vocabulary. For example, one word that's hard is reaping. So they might write the word and the definition. Okay? What does the word make you think of? What are three things you think of when you heard the word to reap or reaping? What's one thing? Harvest. Green. Production. Someone might say death. You know, this is a symbol of death. The reaper, the grim reaper. It's up to you. The word can be in a category with, so to reap, what category would it be in? The category of, well, it's a verb. Here, the reaper, it's a noun. What other category? Activities on a farm, or right? Then here, write a 2-sentence conversation in speech bubbles. Have each speaker use the new word. Okay, let's try and write it. So you have a conversation to 2 people, and I want you to use either the verb to reap or the noun reaper. Okay, try and do this in a pair. So you have a conversation. Each one has to use the word reap or reaper. Okay? Try it in your group, and then we're going to take a break. Let's make a dialogue, 2 people, like here, and they're going to use the new word.
You read your club. You need any other people to read the club? You want to hide any people?
The dialogue. What was the dialogue?
One dialogue. Do you want it? From suggests that something good is keyword related, some keywords.
Okay, go ahead. Who wants to start? Okay, everybody listen. Everybody listen. Go ahead.
The farm yesterday, yes. I had 3 bundles more to read, so I was the last one to read.
That's nice, huh? Yeah, I like it.
Have you ever listened to the report song? Many times while I was riding my bike, I was going to my college. I've seen many reapers reading.
In the field.
In the field.
In the field. Okay, so you asked, have you seen a reaper before?
I have seen so many times.
Okay, very nice. Reapers. Okay, very
Women. Why all reapers are women? Great.
Because why?
Absolutely.
Very patient.
Because they're more patient. Okay.
They do the work with the patient. Because they reap well.
Okay. You reap well with the patience? Good. You have an example?
From that form, reaper does noun in the verb form. It's time to reap the fruits of hard work.
Time to reap the fruits of harvest. Okay, very good. Thank you. Another one?
You are humming because you are strained physically, the solitary reaper. Yes, the humming of the song reduces the pain while I read.
Okay, one more time. I did it here.
Because you are strained physically, the solitary reaper. Yes, humming the song reduces the pain while I read.
While I read. Humming the song reduces the pain. Alright, go ahead. Your turn.
Don't get it.
Say again.
You went somewhere to get some reapers to reap your field. What might be the reason?
We are running short of the reapers and we hire the reapers to reap our crop.
Okay, good. So this is the idea. If you start to use it, very nice. If you start to use it, then they'll learn it. Now if you look at my... And I think, so in other words, it's not enough just to say the word and this is the explanation. Here's the word, this is the definition. What we know is the students need to interact with their study, and you might do some direct instruction, explain to them what's a reaper, what's solitary, what's this and that. But in addition to that, you have to have the students do something with the vocabulary. See what I mean? With the idea, that's how you're going to learn the vocabulary. Now, after the break, we'll do a composition using the solitary reaper. But already, I mean, here's the thing, is that when you're approaching reading from this stance, it becomes really fun and exciting. You see what I mean? And we can see that there were participants today who maybe they didn't participate so much in the discussion yesterday, but in this activity they do very, very well. You see what I mean? And that's the same with our students. not everybody has different gifts, different intelligences, right? So we want to create different opportunities for students to succeed, whether it's in discussion format, using theater for tableau, you see what I mean? Or in compositions. Because we want to create a space where more of our students can be successful in English, right? All right, what do you think? You can do this activity, this kind of activity? So there were 3: tableau, hot seat, deer. Okay? Now after we're going to continue with this analytic writing, we'll do a long composition together. 3 paragraphs in groups. All right, so I think we can break for lunch for half an hour. All right.
This is a half-hour session.
చేయాలా?
1 second, sir. Just smile చేయండి సార్, సీరియస్
ఫోటో టాలెంట్ బాగుందా? ఫిగర్లు ఏంది ఎట్లా బయట?
ఎస్ సార్, ఎస్ రెడీ సార్, ఎస్ సార్, హెడ్ డౌన్, ఎస్ సార్, ఓకే డౌన్, ఎస్ సార్, లుక్ హియర్ సార్, ఎస్ రెడీ, ఎస్, one more, watch, ఎస్, ఎస్ రెడీ సార్, ఎస్ రెడీ, ఎస్, okay, thank you, okay.
Answer the reading, during the reading, it can be pre-reading, while reading, or post-reading activity. It's very flexible. Okay, so let's say on top of your blank piece of paper, I want you to write the word solitude. Okay? You keep using it over and over. See what I mean? Until the students really have exhausted any possibility from the text. And what we're going to do is, so what we're doing is we're just creating practice in the class. Okay, are you ready? Everybody has their pen? So no stopping, just keep copying solitude until you think of that. We're going to do it for 3 minutes. Okay? And 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead. Okay, that's 1 minute. Go ahead and finish that idea. So that was 3 minutes, right? That's it. That's probably the longest you're going to do, because if it gets too long, then the students are going to start editing their work. It's no longer free. Now, sometimes you write something really great. Maybe you didn't write anything interesting. Doesn't matter. The idea is just to have this physical practice of writing. Now what we're going to do is, in your group, let's say I wrote this, I'm going to read it, what I wrote, out loud to the group. And they're just going to listen. Then the next person, read. So don't hand it to your friend. I would like you to read out loud. This is another piece of that publication thing. Do you see what I mean? When you start sharing your writing with your classmates, the writing's going to improve because you have an audience in front of you, okay? So what I want you to do is get back into your groups, this whole group, this group, this group, this group.
I have written just words just like a kid.
Just like that, it's just to get students focused, to warm them up or to wrap something up. And then it's really important, I think it's a really powerful tool to read your work aloud to someone else.
No.
Were you changing what you wrote? No? Sometimes that's what happens, is when I'm reading aloud, I'll find an error, I'll make a change. Myself, I will. Without telling you, I'll make the correction immediately as I'm reading. And what happens is that many times, you know, that's all I do is I write all day. That's what I do. I'm researching. And I have read this piece 100 times, you know, for the last month. And I think it's clean. But if I sit and read it aloud to another person, I'll find the error. You see what I mean? So one of the problems with writing in the classroom for teachers is the workload. You know, it's a big burden for the teacher to correct compositions. So you want the quality of the composition to be as good as it can be before you receive it. And one of the easiest and the simplest things for you to do is before you have your students turn anything in, have them pair up and they just read it aloud. And they're gonna find some mistakes. Do you see what I mean? And make those corrections at least do that before they submit it. You see? Because it's different when we read aloud to a live person. That's even different than if I read aloud by myself. But if I'm reading to a live person, I also see their reaction. I see how they're responding. Do you see what I mean? So I get a sense if they're understanding, if they're not understanding, what's their reaction to it. Okay? So it's that publication piece. Too much of what we do in higher education is just secret between the teacher and the student. So one way to improve the quality of the work is do these performances, have live discussions. When you write, have them read it aloud to their classmates. It's going to improve the quality. You see what I mean? And then nothing is sort of only for the teacher. You see what I mean? They're also working for each other. So that's just one technique. It's called free writing, and the response technique is sharing and responding. Now let's try another response technique, and for this I need a volunteer to read what they wrote. Who wants to share what they wrote? Okay, what we're going to do is you're going to read it, and we're going to hear, this is all on page, let me show you. What I'm talking about is on page 25. Okay. So we just did the sharing, no response. And this is valuable in many situations. Sharing gives you a non-pressure setting for getting comfortable reading your words out loud and listening to the writings of others. Would you please just listen to this piece and enjoy? So in this technique, we're going to listen to our classmate and we're going to point to the center of gravity. Pointing, which words or phrases or passages somehow strike you, stick in your mind, get through. Center of gravity. Which sections somehow seem, we're not asking for the main points, but rather for sections or passages that seem to resonate or linger in the mind. Stages of writing, maybe you're still developing the piece, you're not sure what to do next. So we're going to listen and point to the center of gravity, and that's going to be the new starting point for the composition. Okay? So I want you to take out a pen or a pencil, and we're going to listen to our colleague, and when you hear that center of gravity, write it down. Okay? So nice and loud for us.
Right.
Yeah, come on.
Good afternoon, friends. I am S.O. Kumar, and I am going to read out what I have just penned down. Solitude is good sometimes, but not always. Many a man has used the opportunity of solitude to soar in his life. Some people do not like solitude, but it is in solitude many significant and long-lasting things have been achieved, and the world has been turned into a sweeter one.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, try to find the center of gravity.
Should I? Yeah.
One more time.
Solitude is good sometimes, but not always. Many a man has used the opportunity of solitude to soar in his life. Some people do not like solitude, but it is in solitude many significant and long-lasting things have been achieved, and the world has been turned into a sweeter one.
Okay. So for you all, when after hearing this twice, is there a phrase or word that long-lasting? Soar?
Not on. In solitude, many significant and long-lasting things have been achieved, and the world has been turned into a sweeter one.
Sweeter one.
Sweeter one.
Okay. But you just heard what we picked up as important or generative. So now as the writer, you can choose, okay, let me maybe pick one of those words like sweeter, or not always. Solitude is good, but not always. Or long-lasting, and that will be the new prompt that I put at the top of my page. So on the next free writing is listen again to all your classmates in your group, and I want you to point to the center of gravity. Now ultimately, the writer gets to decide which of these he's going to take for his next writing. You see what I mean? But it's a way to get feedback. So basically, this would be at the very early stages when the student says, I don't know what to do next. You see, so where they could continue the piece. Sometimes, you write the first, like for me, I write the first 2,000 words, I have nothing left to say, what else am I going to say about this? So it's trying to find what piece is generative that is resonating still. All right? Let's try it again in your group, read it one more time, and you all give your reader some ideas of what would be the center of gravity.
Explore the best of things. It is solitude.
Neither aloofness nor neither
which is he wants to convey. Important as an act of
and gravity on a new piece of paper, or if you haven't shared yet, write down one of your friend's center of gravity that you like. So write on a new paper, or underneath that one. Write the new center of gravity at the top of the page. Just draw a line. Now write that new center of gravity down. Go ahead. Each person does his own. You have your paper? Okay. You got your pen? Okay. Each one. Yeah, this is individual, right? And now we're going to do the free writing again. And so maybe now you take that word and you write it at the top of the paper that your friend said, oh, that's the word or that's the phrase. And this becomes the beginning of the new free writing. Okay? You remember when you read the passage and your friends were commenting? Which word did they keep commenting about? So one of those words. Okay, so let's see what's your new word? Meditation. Meditation.
Reminiscence.
Reminiscence. What's your word? Introspection. See, now at this stage, everybody's going to have different words because it depends on what you wrote. So now you're going to use your word, introspection or fear of reminiscence. It might be a phrase, right? And you're going to write for 2 minutes. So it's a way of expanding, elaborating something within that first book. No stopping, right? No talking. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin. Please summarize what you have heard. Tell me what you hear as the main thing and then the almost main things. Give me a phrase as title and a one-word title. If you're going to give a one-word title to what I wrote, what would you call it? First using my words and then using your words. Or, please say back to me in your own words what you hear me getting at in my piece. These are useful at any stage in the writing process in order to see whether the reader got the point you were trying to give. Okay, so now let's have a volunteer read both free writes from the beginning to the second piece. And then we'll try to do this. We'll try to do the feedback. Who wants to read the whole thing? Okay, so listen. He's going to read it. And what is slow?
Yeah, whatever I have written, I read it. No problem. I am not going to edit them. Solitude is different from being alone. Solitude provides peace to one, while being alone has positive and negative connotations. It may be enjoyable or it may be torture. So we have solitude in the place of being alone. Solitude provides inner peace. You can meditate on any topic like what is the meaning of this life, what I will become when I die. I like solitude a lot, but mental pressures, memories never allow me in inner solitude. So I have to switch off my mental speaking. I have to be free from all these nonsensical speech of it. The next one is inner peace I have taken. Inner peace is the greatest treasure in the entire world which one can aspire. Inner peace can be achieved when one is in solitude. You may be in the public or in your room. You can be in solitude by erasing all the impressions from your mind. You can earn crores of rupees, but earning inner peace is excellent and it lasts long. I like inner peace attained people.
Okay, very nice. Let's give my hand. Inner peace. Yeah, that came through really strong. So now summarize what he said. Who wants to summarize in 1 or 2? It's a good thing. You can find inner peace. You can meditate. What else did he say? Is that what you meant?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's the test, is if we say back what you meant, that means you succeeded in communicating what you wanted to communicate. And see, sometimes I think I'm saying something, I think I'm being clear, but it's not clear, and they cannot say it back to me. So this is for the writer, is to see to what level are they receiving the message that I intended. Okay? Now for this exercise, I just want you to partner with one person and read from beginning to end the 2 free writes, and then try and do the summary say back. Summarize in just a few sentences what they were trying to say. Okay? So everyone just, the 2 free writes, and then he's going to summarize what you said, and then vice versa.
When I'm alone, I become more active than usually because I give me peace and joy. As I get tired and relaxed, I become more positive about life. Next one, healer. I've taken the word healer.
Techniques. If you look on page 26, the very last technique is this criterion reference feedback. But this is where we usually begin in the class, right? We usually start just correcting. Save this until the end. So what I'm trying to say is that have your students work with each other on their writing before they turn it into you. And then comes a communicative activity, right? So whether they're writing a short essay for the class or they're preparing something, always have them share it, no response, then maybe point to the center of gravity, summary, say back, before they turn it in. So these are, to me, very useful strategies for helping students to the response. The response technique is just like we did. You can. Now, let's do another kind of writing that will be more formal. The free writing we can do all the time. Now we're going to try to do a more formal composition. And again, we're going to return to the solitary reaper. So we did solitude. You see what I mean? We more of a formal product that would come at the very end of the unit on the solitary reaper. What we're going to do is, if you look at page, it's back to Anna, page 19. We already did half of it, and that was this initial related words. We had many of those. Song, singing, music, musical, music, solitary, melancholy, sorrow, strain. This was the theme of sadness. You talked about harvest. And then some of the binary pairs or the conflict was silence and song. Remember? The poet, the solitary reaper, thrilling and melancholy. Okay? So now what we're going to do, let's say you've already done this, we're going to have now the production phase. So we're going to write 3 paragraphs. We'll do this as a group, paragraph at a time. The first paragraph, paragraph 1, here's the directions. Just describe or summarize the text in maybe 5 to 8 sentences or less. Regardless of the length of the text, you can summarize its purpose or scope in a few short sentences. So here, say, okay, The Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth is a 4-stanza, is a short 4-stanza poem comprised of, 20 lines. The poet, in stanza 1, the poet describes. In stanza 2, the poet says. Stanza 3, the poet says. And finally, in stanza 4, the poet concludes. So don't give your opinion, okay? We just want to very precisely summarize what that poem is about. Now, the next 2 are going to be more about your opinion and your analysis. So what we're trying to do here is teach students different kinds of writing. Here, it's a summary, the first paragraph. So we're not going to give our opinions in a summary, right? It's a description, it's a summary. It's like the récit that you talk about in the first year, right? Just summary, okay? So we're not going to give a lot of adjectives. We're not going to say what we think. It's going to be the poet does this, the poet begins, do you see what I mean? Okay, so let's try and make this at least 5, no, more like 8 sentences long. Now here I want you to work in groups and just have one person be the recorder, okay? Who's gonna record and report. So you're gonna write it, then we're gonna listen to all 5 groups. Okay, you can be separated now if you want. This group, 3. Okay, and how does the poem begin? What happens next? Okay, and what's that response? Yeah, what's the response? Okay, so just give one phrase. It can be a little longer, if you want it to be 10. But don't give your opinion.
The poem Solitary Reaper was written by William Wordsworth. It's a poem written in 4 stanzas, and each stanza consists of 8 lines. In stanza 1, the poet describes the song of a woman who was reaping and singing alone in the field. The song is so mellifluous that it's echoing throughout the valley. In the second stanza, the poet completes the song of the bell to that of the nightingale and a cuckoo bird. In stanza 3, the poet, being unable to understand the meaning of the song, explores the meaning to be a battle cry or of a personal sorrow. In stanza 4, the poet concludes by expressing the impression and indelible impression on his mind long after the song was heard no more.
No, that's a great summary. So what I liked about that is they didn't really tell their opinion, and it was very clear that this is what the poet did. The poet did. It's not what you think. It's what the poet said. I thought that was. Thank you.
But people like Shobham and people double the job that of time. It's not fair, sir. They could pay better than us.
Yes, I'm sure they're all very good.
The Solitary Reaper was written by William Wordsworth. The poem has 4 stanzas, and each stanza has 8 lines. The first stanza deals with a vivid description of a solitary reaper. In the second stanza, the poet asserts that the song of the girl is more sweeter than that of the birds. In the third stanza, the poet is unable to interpret the song since it is in a strange language. In the last stanza, the poet wants to carry the maiden's song by keeping it in his heart forever.
Oh, it's great. Very nice summary. Same idea. It was very organized. It's very clear. It's not their opinion. Great. Descriptive language, very rich. I liked it. Okay, next.
The poem Solitary Reaper was written by William Wordsworth. The poem consists of 4 stanzas. Each stanza consists of 8 lines. In the first stanza, the poet describes the solitary reaper who is single in the field, reaping and singing by herself alone. She cuts and binds the grain and sings in a melancholy strain. He says that the whole valley is overflowing with the sound of her song. In the second stanza, the song of the lass is compared to the song of the nightingale. The song became a song of solace to the weary travelers traveling among Arabian sand. The song was more thrilling than the cuckoo birds. In the third stanza, the poet asks if somebody could tell what the solitary reaper is singing. She might be singing of some old unhappy far off things or about battles that happened long back. The poet says that it is some natural sadness that happened or can happen in future. And in the last stanza, the poet concludes that he listens to the song motionless and still he leaves the singer, he leaves the salty sleeper still singing her song behind, though he cannot hear the song, but it will remain in his memory forever.
Excellent. Yeah, that was great. Wow, these are really good. These are very complete summaries. More of this.
Solitary Reaper is a poem composed by William Wordsworth. It's a poem of 32 lines divided into 4 stanzas. In the first stanza, the poet describes about a Highland lass and her song. She cuts and binds the grain and sings a sad song which fills the deep valley. The poet compares the song to the song of a nightingale, which provides solace to the exhausted travelers. The voice of the girl was more thrilling than the cuckoo bird. In the third stanza, he puzzles about the meaning and theme of the girl's song. He ponders over the question, what could it be? The poet was surprised as the girl's song looked as if it has no end. He moved on, but he carried the girl's song in his mind and continued to listen to it until it was unheard.
Oh, very nice. Good. And I like how you're using the language.
This is our creation on Solitary Reaper with the effort of our team. The poem consists of 4 stanzas, 8 lines, written by William Wordsworth. And the poem is influenced by romantic movement. So, in the first stanza, the poet, happening to visit the Scottish island, looking at this Scottish island girl, describes the solitary reaper, where the reaper was cutting and binding her grains, and the poet became very fascinated by her melancholic song. And in the second stanza, the poet compares the voice of the reaper with those of the nightingale and the cuckoo bird, and praises the excellence of her voice. And in third stanza, the poet thinks that the theme of the song, such as battles, personal grief, or pain or loss, recollecting through her song. And in the fourth stanza, the poet concludes the poem with an impression created by the melodious song of the reaper and left the reader spellbound. This is what we have written with the effort of our team.
Wow, these were great. Fabulous. I love those. Okay, you did a great job with that. Now, that was a summary description. So that's one type of writing. Remember what we did for the group is going to write about something that struck you during the reading as significant, problematic, it's the text better. Think aloud as you write. So here, what you're going to do is data, if we call this data, looking at this data, what in the data struck you as really interesting? Is it the repetition of this word song singing? Is it this theme of sadness that's illustrated through this word of solitary, melancholy, sorrow, strain, unhappy? Is it the theme of the harvest? Is it the binary of this silence versus music, or what? Okay? So, together as a group, this is how you're going to start it. When we read the poem, what struck us as significant was this. Okay? So you're looking at the whole poem, but you're just focusing on one thing. And you're going to elaborate that. Why was that interesting? What does it mean? What else could it mean? Now this one, you should try to write 8 sentences again. If it's too short, you won't develop your interpretation. So try to make it at least 8 sentences. Okay? As a group. And have the same person who was writing it write again. Okay, the same recording. And at the end, then we're going to write one final paragraph, then you'll have a comment. To you most. What do you think? What struck you as most interesting? As illustrated through these words: song, singing, music, nightingale, cuckoo, right? So then why? Okay, so do it for just 10 minutes to write. Musicality, right? Poet creates a theme of musicality, right? Through the use of the word song, of the rep nightingale, right? At the same time, there's a theme of sadness. The reaper is solitary, the song is melancholy. There's sorrow and strain and voice. There's something about the song. You go into the poem, right? Okay, so you want to look very closely at the poem again. Okay, this time, let's stop where you are. Let's just hear two of them. Okay? Alright. We're just going to hear two, just so you get an idea. Alright, who wants to start? Nancy, you want to? Okay, ready? Go ahead.
The poem speaks about a solitary reaper who is singing a melancholic note with a soothing voice which attracted the wanderer poet. Music has no language, as the poet is able to enjoy the song irrespective of the language. The mood and locale conveys more to the reader than the content. The set of words like motionless, still, and silence show that the poet is captivated and enthralled by the song of the maiden.
I like that. I love that. Okay, so I like how she keeps referring back to the language of the poem. So the group is digging, looking very closely at the poem, trying to unpack its significance. I like that. Anybody else want to share? Go ahead, and then the next group. Yeah, whoever wants to share. Go ahead.
Sonorous and ridiculous. If music be the food of love, play on, says a character in 12th grade written by William Shakespeare. Here, the subjective element of a romantic poem can be easily understood in this context. The song sung by the reaper may be momentary, but the moment was made eternity by the poet. This says that an iota of inspiration is enough for plethora of perspiration. Here the poet creates wonderful words like solitude, song of the cuckoo, nightingale, melancholy, strain. The poet often makes use of these words like silence, so on and so forth, motionless, so on and so forth.
Okay, very nice. So I think there you're still going to continue developing, so what does that mean for the poem? Okay, so we're looking at, anybody else want to share?
Locally poured out by the song of the reaper moved me to a great extent. Further, the agony that has filled the heart of the reaper has led to a great ecstasy in the heart of the poet, which came out in the form of a lyre, that is poem. the poem is not only joyful, but also brings sorrow and pain that can find an excellent expression in the form of a beautiful song or poem. So this is a binary aspect in the poem that struck us very impressively.
So it's that binary between the poet being thrilled.
Yeah,
what's the binary exactly?
The agony in the heart of the reaper and the ecstasy in the heart of the poet.
Nice. Yeah, that's true. I like that. Okay, thank you very much. Now, the third paragraph, everybody's going to do by himself. So the first paragraph was the summary. The second paragraph was an analysis of a significant theme or binary. The third piece is branching out, the personalization. So now begin like this. Everybody write this down. The poem makes me think of when you read the poem, what do you think at a personal level? Or it reminds me
another point.
everyone do this by themselves. So you really have three different types of writing: the summary, interpretation, and the personalization. Okay? So let's start with this group up. So begin from the beginning. Who was the reader? Okay. So begin with the whole thing again. All three paragraphs. Yeah? Let's give our hand.
Into 4 stanzas. In the first stanza, the poet describes about a Highland lass and her song. She cuts and binds the grain and sings a sad song, which fills the deep valley. The poet compares the song to the song of a nightingale, which provides solace to the exhausted travelers. The voice of the girl was more thrilling than the cuckoo bird. In the third stanza, he puzzles about the meaning and theme of the girl's song. He ponders over the question, what could it be? The poet was surprised as the girl's song was looking as if it has no end. He moved on but carried the girl's song in his mind and continued to listen to it until it was unheard. The entire setting of the poem catches my attention. It presents a picture-perfect scenario where the poet visits and passes by. The rustic Scottish island form the background of the poem with swaying fields. A maiden all alone in solitude and singing a melancholy song all for herself catches my attention. Wordsworth's description of valleys, hills, the sweet songs of nightingale, they form an important part to me in the poem. And the third part is, on a very personal level, the poem makes me think of the rustic village life that I missed all my life. The soothing sweetness of village air and the simple lifestyles of village people. Being happy with what they have and living in the present attract my attention. The song of the girl reminds me of the greatest song ever because it's not intended to anyone but to herself.
Okay, I think that exercise I would do at the very end after you've done all of this work on Wordsworth, all of this discussion, all of this theater about the poem, so that there's a nice product. Now, maybe your students can visually always start with the individual and then in a small group, and then you're going to make it very public. So by listening to what she wrote, we got a lot of ideas about what we're going to write, right? And we, excuse We learned from her structure. Okay, do you have any questions? It's impressive, huh? It really is. So I like that it has 3 distinct parts. Okay, so tomorrow we'll do a couple more things. I want to look at classroom environments and how we can make better relationships. What do you do to create relationships with your students? And then let's take another text and do multiple activities with the text, sort of to review what we did these last 2 days. So to review, we started with discussion, tableau, survey, ranking, and today discussion circle. Then we did the tableau, hot seat, dear, and then we looked at free writing, some sharing and responding techniques, and then this very formal essay with 3 parts. What text should we do tomorrow? From your book, let's decide now.
So something from the first year.
From the first year? But they said they don't use the same book. Refugee Mother and Child?
6th poem. First year is different to all the universities.
Oh, this is first year.
This is second year.
Okay, let's decide together today. You want to do Refugee Mother and Child?
Yes.
That's too sad.
Sixth one.
That's fine.
This is a photograph.
Vijay Mother.
Tomorrow we will start the validity at 4 o'clock in the evening, where we expect to have the commissioner for the validity. And then I want 4 of you to respond during the validatory. Kindly give you a list. 2 from the ladies side